Imagine walking into a room where every single person is silently tracking your every move, waiting for you to stumble, waiting for you to offer them the emotional reaction they desperately crave. Your heart pounds against your ribs, yet your face remains an unreadable mask of absolute, freezing ice. You do not explain yourself, you do not defend your character, and you refuse to give them a single ounce of validation. What happens next is not merely a social disagreement, it is the absolute destruction of the hidden power dynamic they built around you. Society programs us to believe that verbal combat requires a fast rebuttal, but masters of deep psychological control know that true dominance belongs exclusively to the observer who remains completely silent. This is not about running away, this is the architecture of the sovereign nullification protocol, a chilling mental barrier utilized by history's most untouchable figures to neutralize adversaries without lifting a finger. Welcome back to What Else Official. Today we decode why your emotional reactions are the ultimate currency stolen by your environment and how absolute bankruptcy to their demands grants you supreme sovereignty. Why are human beings hardwired to become absolute slaves to stimulus? From the microsecond your consciousness flickers awake, external triggers pull your strings like a puppet in a crowded theater. A notification buzzes and your thumb dances, an insult strikes your ego and your defenses flare, a drop of false praise lands and your posture softens. You are tied to 1,000 invisible cables, and any casual observer who identifies your frequency can orchestrate your emotional state at whim. The architect of manipulation does not conquer you through sheer vocabulary, they conquer you through your rigid predictability. If an adversary charts your exact retaliation matrix, you are already mentally imprisoned. But what occurs when those invisible wires suddenly snap? What happens when they pull with all their might and encounter absolute weightlessness? This marks the exact birth point of authentic power. It is the heavy silence lingering after a deliberate provocation, the unblinking gaze held 3 seconds past the point of comfort, the absolute refusal to dispense the emotional validation your aggressor desperately craves. Have you ever felt that burning, agonizing itch to fill an awkward conversational vacuum just to escape the pressure? That frantic impulse is your psychological armor cracking. Throughout this dark exploration, we will train your nervous system to sit directly inside that freezing discomfort until it transforms into an impregnable fortress. We will examine the terrifying mechanics of the void, observing how a calculated lack of response births a vacuum that others frantically pack with their own confessions, raw insecurities, and eventual total surrender. You will soon realize that the most dangerous presence in any room is never the loudest voice, but the entity completely comfortable fading into a ghost. In the upcoming phases of this psychological blueprint, we will dissect the surgical precision of the gray rock technique, mapping why high-value operators utilize silence as an absolute filter against social parasites. We are dissecting the exact physiological shifts required to transition from a helpless casualty of impulse into the supreme commander of your own physical presence. Are you prepared to sever every single string? Are you ready to witness what unfolds when you offer the world absolute nothingness? The void expands before you and your permanent transformation commences right now. What else lurks beneath the surface of absolute silence? Let us descend further into the dark artistry of the sovereign nullification protocol, preparing your mindset because once you perceive reality through this lens, returning to a reactive existence becomes entirely impossible. To truly grasp the mechanics of this framework, you must examine the raw biology of the emotional predator. Every manipulator, every casual tormentor, and every energy vampire operates as an active hunter tracking your internal pulse. They do not merely seek your compliance, they demand your internal chaos, fishing desperately for a spike in your heart rate. When they project a provocation your way, they cast a psychological line waiting for the sharp tug of anger, the frantic twitch of defensiveness, or the trembling shudder of fear. That specific reaction serves as their biological proof of life, confirming they maintain direct access to your operating system. If they manipulate you into rage, they render you completely predictable, and the second you start justifying your character to an attacker, you voluntarily hand them the judge's gavel. You officially validate their jurisdiction over your self-worth. Yet the sovereign nullification protocol completely shatters this dynamic, standing as the ultimate refusal to participate as a willing witness in your own manufactured trial. When you withhold every drop of emotional data, the predator faces instant starvation. They pull the trigger string, expecting a frantic dance, and instead encounter a black hole of pure nothingness. This void breeds intense psychological panic within the attacker because human neurology fundamentally relies on closed feedback loops. When a loop fractures violently, the aggressor's brain spirals into frantic overdrive. They escalate their volume, they amplify their accusations, and they deploy increasingly desperate insults, which becomes their ultimate downfall. By escalating wildly while you maintain monolithic stillness, they expose their utter lack of internal governance. They become the frantic marionette of their own desperation while you remain the chilling, detached archivist of their collapse. Consider the cold precision of the gray rock methodology, engineered explicitly to render your social footprint as invisible and flavorless as a common stone on a desolate path. No emotional shine, no sudden movement, no accessible flavor profile. By merging with the background of your social environment, you vanish entirely from the predator's targeting radar. This philosophy avoids victimhood entirely, morphing your persona into a psychological black hole where energy simply disappears. When Machiavellian operators attempt to map your vulnerabilities, they hunt explicitly for your micro-tells, the subtle twitch of discomfort or the rapid blinking of anxiety. Mastering this protocol demands heavy conditioning of your autonomic nervous system, training yourself to maintain icy, analytical observation amidst chaos. It requires a permanent divorce between your internal emotional storm and your external physical presentation. You might experience a raging fire burning deep inside your chest, but outwardly you present as a tranquil, impenetrable dark lake. This stoic distance radiates an intimidating aura of profound mystery because human psychology inherently fears what it cannot calculate or map. If an opponent fails to locate your buttons, they lose all capability to press them. This deliberate silence functions as an elite social filter utilized naturally by high-value individuals who feel zero compulsion to fill empty air with meaningless noise just to validate their existence. They understand intimately that within any high-stakes dynamic, the individual who breaks the silence first surrenders their leverage. Silence remains the sacred space where an opponent's fragile ego goes to suffocate. Notice how legendary historical figures and dominant cinematic archetypes consistently speak the fewest words while commanding absolute obedience. They never beg for validation, they command total attention simply by withholding their energy. We are going to teach you how to project this impenetrable barrier toward toxic superiors, draining family dynamics, and even the relentless critic echoing inside your own mind. The void is far from empty, holding infinite potential energy waiting to be harnessed. Are you prepared to watch reality reorganize itself the moment you abandon the urge to fix external chaos and choose instead to simply observe? What else are they concealing beneath their frantic demands for your attention? Now that you have mastered the foundational engineering of the void, you must conquer the ultimate frontier, which is the silence of the self. The most dangerous reaction you will ever face does not originate from the adversary screaming across from you, but rather from the internal voice whispering demands to defend your honor. Achieving mastery over this protocol extends far beyond winning a tactical social game, it represents conquering the internal civil war within your own consciousness. You systematically condition your neural pathways to accept a liberating truth: external opinions hold zero jurisdiction over your objective reality. Their projected anger remains their personal burden to carry, not yours. Their harsh judgments function entirely as confessions of their own internal bankruptcy, never a conviction of your character. By completely refusing to react, you reclaim vast reserves of vital energy previously squandered on individuals unworthy of a single second of your existence. You transform into an impenetrable citadel of calm amidst a deafening sea of chaotic static. This emotional independence serves as the defining signature of a high-value individual, proving an unyielding capacity to maintain internal equilibrium regardless of hostile external conditions. You cease functioning as a helpless casualty of circumstance, stepping seamlessly into the role of supreme master of your own presence. You observe the manipulation strings, You spot the hidden hooks floating through the air, and you effortlessly step aside as they sail harmlessly past your space. The surrounding world will relentlessly attempt to drag you back into the theatrical mud, engineering scenarios designed to make you loud, emotionally volatile, and painfully predictable. Yet your perspective has fundamentally evolved. You recognize that your profound silence functions as your ultimate sanctuary, and your absolute stillness operates as your greatest tactical weapon. You realize deeply that the most devastating response to a fool is unyielding quiet, and the ultimate antidote to an energy predator is complete emotional non-existence. You become the mysterious ghost inhabiting their operational machinery, the unpredictable variable that keeps them restless and awake during late-night hours. What additional tactics could anyone possibly deploy against you once you completely sever your investment in their opinions? The power dynamic has permanently inverted, transferring complete operational control directly into your hands. This is What Else Official, forging a relentless collective of sovereign minds who utterly reject manipulation, refuse predictability, and decline to live by anyone else's manipulated rulebook. If this deep descent into the dark psychology of silence has fundamentally altered your framework, you occupy the exact space you were destined to reach. Yet our journey across the shadows continues right now, and your participation defines our strength. Have you ever deployed the sheer power of silence to instantly neutralize a toxic manipulator in their tracks? Did you experience that exhilarating psychological shift the exact moment you realized victory required zero verbal output? Document your lived experience in the comments section below, as your personal breakthrough might serve as the exact spark another individual requires to shatter their own invisible chains. We personally review every single insight contributed by our community, building a powerhouse of advanced psychological fortification. If this exploration brought massive value to your mindset, hammer the like button right now to signal the algorithm that deep psychological sovereignty must reach those currently trapped in endless reactive loops. Ensure you are subscribed to What Else Official with all notifications aggressively engaged, because our upcoming deep dive plunges even deeper into the hidden architecture of the human mind. Refuse to miss the next major revelation. Join our ranks, maintain absolute awareness, and remember that the most devastating tactical strike you can execute today is doing absolutely nothing. What else are they concealing from you within the daily noise? We will uncover the truth together in the next transmission. Stay still, stay strong, stay silent.